Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Hope you guys are having a fabulous Friday. We got a little live Q&A session in the house. Put down your comments below. Really want to know your questions, what your thoughts are. If you guys are dealing with any struggles, immune burdens, if you're dealing with the corona, let me know. Really want to know what you're doing. And if you're enjoying this stuff, give me a thumbs up. Smash the like button. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notifications of content coming your way. So what is happening, y'all? Let me know. I got a couple of things on my radar I wanted to show you all, and I'm excited to do that. So happy Friday, Q&A session going on. So feel free to put your questions down below so we can get moving. Love it, love it, love it. All right, I'm just doing a couple little tweaks here. That looks good. All right, cool. Love it. So we did some stat stuff last night. I wanted to review some of the overall mortality burden in Europe with you guys. My big concern is a lot of people dying every day, every year, no matter what. Let's go look at and see how much the coronavirus has affected all-cause mortality and or different age groups in Europe. Let's take a peek at that. I'm going to pull this up here so you guys can see. All right, this is a great site. It's called EuroMomo. Kind of fun saying. But it gives you a pretty good window in monitoring all mortality in Europe. Really cool. And if you're watching on Facebook, head over to justinhealth.com YouTube so you can watch all the stuff on screen here. So here is the pooled number of deaths. And so the red line is going to kind of be like your mean, okay? And then you have different age ranges. So off the bat, 0 to 4, you can see here, this is where we're at in regards to mortality. We're actually low. 5 to 14, we're actually low. Look at 15 to 64. And again, just so you guys can see, this is 2020, this is weeks 1 through 13. So that gives you a little bit of perspective there. The death rate for the ages 15 to 64 during the whole time that the whole coronavirus hit Europe has actually dropped. Do you see that right there? And you can see, yeah, there's definitely been a little bit of an increase in ages 65 plus overall, but it's not anything that doesn't typically happen seasonally. I mean, look at 2017. 1, 2, 3. So this is 2016, week 41, 2017, 2018. It's almost like a seasonal thing. So if you compare it to the last 3 years, this is the smallest increase in mortality. And this is part of the reason why I talk about this being a little bit more of hysteria, because you need to have context. And so when I look at deaths from other issues in the past, other influenzas, this is all-cause mortality. This is not just viruses. This is all-cause mortality. It gives you a little bit more of a perspective. It should bring you guys some comfort to know that what we're seeing is not causing any more of an aberration or increase in the overall mortality that we typically see. And actually, overall mortality is down. So you can see it's a little bit up from 65 plus, which that makes sense, but not compared to previous years. And then for the age range of 15 to 64, it's actually dropped. And previous years were significantly down. That's pretty amazing. And then you can see all ages were up a little bit right here, but nothing more than we have had the last 3 years in a row. I think that's important. Now, the cool thing is they'll actually do it per country. Now, here's where it gets really wacky. So you can see Austria down. Belgium up a little bit, but nothing more than they've had in previous years. Previous years have been higher. Denmark up minor. And again, just so you know, Denmark right now, they are not closing down their economy. Them and Sweden are not closing it down. Let's look at Denmark. Previous years, nothing more. Previous year here, 2017, much bigger spikes across the board. Finland down. France up a little bit, nothing more than previous years. Germany pretty flat. Greece pretty flat. Hungary's actually dropping. Ireland's flat. This is Italy right here. There's the bump, but look, not much more than 2017, 2016. They had bumps too. This bump in 2000, I think 16, 17 was actually higher, and it was more consistent. And that's Italy overall. But remember, when we look at the breakdown in Italy, you'll see it's primarily the older people. We know that. Same thing, Malta, same kind of thing, more aberrations over the last couple of years. Nothing, like if you guys were to go look at the data from like the Spanish flu 1918, 1919, you see a massive increase above and beyond any other year, right? We're not seeing even close to that. Spain, a little bit of a bump, but we've had those bumps in the past, and we had it much higher back in 2016, 2017. UK, a little bit of a bump. Way more in 2017 right here. And longer, I think. And then UK is actually low. UK, Scotland's low. UK, Ireland's actually dropping. So I hope that helps and makes a little bit more sense for you guys. And then when you guys go look at it, up here, pool for the whole entire country, you can see we're only up in 65 to plus. That's it. And again, if you were to separate these out, 65 plus with comorbidities, I guarantee you it's going to be all on the comorbidity side. So if you're 65 and healthy, you'd probably actually see a drop in that death rate. And then let's go take a look here at what's happening in the United States. So this is pneumonia and influenza. Now, why is this important? Because influenza could potentially contribute to pneumonia, as so could coronavirus, right? Coronavirus could contribute to pneumonia. So we're not really having much more of an aberration than we did in 2017 and definitely 18. Look at the spike we had in 18. That was huge. So I'm just trying to show to you guys we're not seeing major aberrations. And I wish I could get some kind of a data rate that looked at all mortality like we have for the EuroMomo. If someone has that data or knows who has that, is tracking that data, put it down below. Because my biggest supposition is we are not going to see a big increase in all-cause mortality across the board. Now, why does that matter? It matters because I think number one, we already talked about overdiagnosis, right? We already talked, if we look at this data here, we already know the false positives are going to be significantly high. We see it right here. Nearly half or even more of asymptomatic affected individuals reported in the active nucleic acid test may be false positive. So 50% plus. Up here it even says up to 80% false positive. So we know that, okay? We know that some of the data here in regards to, right, this is the Division of Vital Statistics. They are classifying people that cause or is assumed to have caused. So my concern is with the hype, with the hysteria, that we're going to have more deaths than truly are attributed to corona. In other words, someone dies with corona but not from corona. Someone has Alzheimer's, dementia, dies with corona, not from corona. Someone that has a heart attack that dies with corona but not from corona. So I'm concerned that this assumed stat here is going to infiltrate or increase the overall deaths. And that's why we want to look at data like this that looks at all-cause mortality. Because if we really have this aberration that's increasing deaths overall, we're going to see a big increase here. And we're just not seeing it. And when we do see it, it's nothing more than previous years. And we're seeing that here in the stats from the CDC as well. Okay, hope that makes sense. And then my predictions here. I mean, I said last week, I said a couple of days to a week. That was last week, and I'm extending that. Based off of, I think, the data coming from China is a little bit off, or they made changes to their data. They put things in place that we are not doing, and maybe they aren't sharing. So I think chloroquine with the AZT and the zinc is going to be a big combo to knock this thing down. I think the projections have been way off by the government, 2 to 3 million, down to now down to like 100 to 200,000. And then if you just take that R naught from 2.5 and you bring it down to 2.3, you're actually well below flu. And I think that's going to play a big role. The other factors are going to be weather. We have data on the weather and humidity, and the UV rays from higher temperature is going to cause that virus to not live as long, and it's going to make it harder to transfer when it's more humid, doesn't transfer as far. So I hope you guys are enjoying the data, trying to back it to y'all from my perspective so you can see it. And then you can look at Italy here. Italy's plateaued here on the, or hit the bell curve here on the 28th, 27th of March. And you can see here, I lined up our first death in the U.S. with Italy's first death. So you can see where this gap, this is the gap right here, that we are behind Italy in reaching the top of the bell curve in regards to death. And I just mirrored this gap over here so then you guys can count the days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-day gap, 9 to 10-day gap. And so then if you do 9 to 10 days, we're looking at April 11th to 12th would be our bell curve. And then if we look at Richard Murray, his plateau, he is thinking that it's going to be April 15th. So I think that's really fascinating. And then you can see, look at... If you look at this article here, let me go back a little bit. So if you look at his projections here on the healthdata.org/COVID, this will come up in a sec. April 15th is the plateau on that, which is really, really helpful to see. And it may even come a little bit sooner. We'll see. I think hydroxychloroquine is going to be the game changer. But you can see by the end of June, this thing's nothing. I think this will be well under control by early May, especially if people can get the chloroquine and the zinc and the other stuff. Now, we've already talked about immune boosting strategies that no one's talking about. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, I think are good first-line defenses. We've kind of highlighted the blood sugar aspect. I'll just briefly review that. People that didn't see it last night is the blood sugar aspect is big because they're finding that there's a massive connection here between people that come in with COVID and 58+% had diabetes or pre-diabetes. That's big. And we've talked about this already because blood sugar decreases phagocytosis. This is how we take a virus. We basically eat that virus up and digest it, and that we know that phagocytic activity, meaning our ability for our immune cells, monocytes, neutrophils, mast cells, etc., to gobble up viruses and junk and bacteria increases when we improve our blood sugar. So forget this scientific jargon. What they mean is blood sugar goes up, we have more insulin. The more insulin, our immune cells can't gobble up viruses. The more we get our blood sugar back into balance, the more we can start to have better immune function. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me kind of rock out a couple of questions for y'all. Can one practice functional medicine with a PhD in chemistry? Sure, you could. You just have to really get the education down and clinically do it. Can you talk about masks? Yeah, I mean, masks are going to be very helpful if you're breathing stuff in, if people are sneezing around you. The problem with mask is it's primarily going to be hand. So if you're hand touching the mask, you're more likely to touch the mask more. And then if you touch that mask and don't wash your hand after you touch it again and rub your eye, you'll get infected. So masks are only going to be helpful to the point where you're not constantly touching the mask. Then it's going to be more helpful if you can be that aware. But the problem is once something's on your face, and those N95 masks are actually really tight, the more likely you are to touch it. My 17-year-old son's been really itchy for about a month now after he sweats, no detergent, waist up, including head. What could it be? It depends. I'd look at food. I'd look at potentially yeast, candida overgrowth. What are your views about fecal microbiota transplants? I think it can be helpful. The problem is it does not fix the root cause a lot of times. So it just depends. If you've gone through a lot of steps to address the gut, hormones, digestion, infections, and then you want to try that palliatively to support yourself, fine. If you're just looking for the FMT to be the home run, it typically is not. I've seen some people get sick because of it. Can kombucha and kefir help in a parasite infection? When to use them after herb protocol? Yeah, it can be. You can definitely, the Saccharomyces boulardii and the probiotics can be very helpful. Why are people saying that hospitals are empty? Well, there are definitely a lot of empty hospitals. If you go to Film Your Hospital hashtag, there are a lot. I think there are punctuated, concentrated major hospitals in New York that are totally full, but then there are some that are empty. So I don't understand why they're not being transferred to kind of spread it out a little bit. Is it because maybe it's a contagion thing? I don't know, but I definitely seen some of those hashtags. It's, perplexing. Maybe it's a contamination thing, all right? But if people are this is like the hardest time we're going to get whacked. I'm hoping in the next 7 to 10 days, we're at that peak. I'm looking at Richard Murray's model, and I'm comparing us against Italy, not China. I think China isn't quite being fully transparent on what's happening there. Did Z-Pak and continue in the nasal rinse for nasty pneumonia cough, but getting pressure, pain, water in my ears when doing it straight up and down as demonstrated. Could anything help that? I would just make sure that you're continuing to address everything in regarding your diets, inflammation. Make sure you have the xylitol in there, maybe a couple of drops of silver and some iodine, because you probably have some infectious debris up there, and just keep popping your nose and keep the mucus-producing foods like dairy out. Can one contract influenza and corona at the same time? Yes, you can, and people have. What can you recommend for nerve issues? Very hot feeling at night, super agitated. Finish Midral for pneumonia, could be withdrawal. Either way, anything to help. Have ashwagandha, but that's it. So it just depends. Are you menopausal? What's going on? It could be your body heating up to deal with the bacteria and the viruses. Bacteria and viruses don't do good when your body heats up. It could be that. It could just be that, and that may be a good thing if you're finishing up the infection. Some experts think the second wave will hit in mid-fall and should be serious than the first one, like swine flu, Spanish flu. Your thoughts? We didn't have a second wave of swine flu, number one. I don't think we did. I don't recall having it. We never had a second wave in regards to SARS. But number two, the antibodies that we're going to have are going to last years. So I'm not worried about it at all because the asymptomatic population will create a lot of herd immunity, so I'm not even worried about it. Are you taking antibiotics? How much probiotics help is useful? What do you recommend, and could you get enough from food? If you're taking antibiotics, my line, we would use ProBioFlora, which is a concentrated bifidobacter and lactobacillus blend. I would be using that, and that will help kind of therapeutically get you over the hump. And you can also do fermented foods as well. And I would do anywhere between 30 to 50 billion per day. I hope that helps. All right, guys, I got to jump on a podcast here. If you're enjoying it, comments below. Sharing is caring. Send to friends and family. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys are enjoying the data and you are taking control of your health. I'll be back. Take care, y'all.